My name is Anna Cox. I'm a Professor of Human-Computer Interaction in UCLIC, which is the UCL Interaction Centre. So many of us carry around these small, powerful computers in our pockets and bags, and they're becoming part of everyday life. For many of us, we use them both for work and for non-work. And in addition, some of us have even tinier computers that we have strapped to our wrists, which send us messages from these slightly larger ones. So my big research question is about understanding how these devices lead to frequent multitasking, and looking at that multitasking behaviour at both the micro level of cognition and also the macro level of work-life balance. So my research is important for society because we know that multitasking within work-based settings, for example, impacts our productivity and our efficiency in doing our work. Now, being less productive or not efficient in many situations is just a little bit annoying. But if you fly an aeroplane or your job is to program an infusion pump in a hospital, then not being efficient is likely to mean that actually you're making errors, and making errors in those contexts obviously has very serious consequences. In addition, because our mobile devices are really ubiquitous now, and we're seeing this increase in the blurring of boundaries between work and non-work parts of our lives, we're seeing increases in work-based stress as a result of people finding it difficult to disconnect from work. So what we found in my research looking at the micro level of productivity, we have seen that we've been finding the impact of certain factors on the likelihood that people make errors. So we have seen how the type of interruption that you might experience from one of your devices, what it's actually trying to get you to do, what kind of message you've received, how that makes it more or less likely that you've made an error. So the type of interruption, but also the length of interruption, how long you switch to that other task, and also how we might be able to use cues in the design of the interfaces we're using that can help us reduce the likelihood of making an error when we switch back to our primary task. But then also looking at the macro level, where we're looking at multitasking and work-life balance, we have identified ways in which we can better take control of our device use, so that rather than our devices ruling our work-life balance and perhaps encouraging us to work at times when we didn't really want to be working, like on holiday or at weekends, we can actually make use of these devices in slightly different ways so that we take back this control. And these strategies that we've identified we call micro boundaries. So they are ways of using digital technologies to reinforce the boundaries between work and life where we want to have them. Yes, so a tangible example of a micro boundary is where we might use devices to create boundaries. So we might decide to have two mobile phones, one that we use just for personal stuff and another that we use just for work-based stuff. Now, many people can't afford the luxury of buying two of these, so of course there are other ways. We could have two different apps for our email, rather than integrating it all into one place, we could have one app that we put all the work-based stuff on and one app that we put all the non-work-based stuff on. You can also use accounts to make this boundary between these things. So we have identified these different strategies that people have adopted, and some of our more recent work is looking at how easy people find it to adopt these types of strategies, and how they're able to continue them over the long term, and the impacts those have on them being less likely to engage in this kind of multitasking behaviour when that isn't something they want to be doing.